Heading to camping. Let's go now to Frank Ferragine, who's out of the greenhouse and into his backyard to share tips for a memorable but safe way to spend a special weekend with Dad in the great outdoors. Frank, I love the environment there. It looks like you're in a forest. Where are you?
I'm right behind my house. If you could actually just shoot through there, you can kind of see that my house is right there. I back onto a ravine, so we are lucky enough to have a forest, which is kind of cool. So the boys, this is your campsite, guys. You know what? You can see how excited they are. They're like, Dad, you did the drive. Dad, you did so much work. Yeah, Dad.
I think it looks great. Listen, if I had land like that and we could build a tent and it looked like we were in a forest, I would be so happy. So let's start by just talking about the campsite itself. You want a space that has a bit of a clearing, and then you're going to have your fire pit and you're going to build some shelter.
Yeah, so key is if you're thinking about a campsite in your backyard, is to make sure you're finding a nice level location. If you're thinking about going camping, you want to book your campsites well in advance. It does take months upon months for really good site locations. When it comes to shelter, Gavin actually helped me yesterday. Gavin gives a thumbs up. Gavin helped me yesterday build this 7-man tent. This is a 7-man tent. And what I would really recommend for those that are camping for the first time, and let's say you're going out to a campsite, make sure you put the tent up at home first before you then try to go to the campsite and install it. You'll be driving for several hours and try to put it together. Gav, was it easy yesterday? Yeah, we had a couple of challenges. How's the s'mores going? You guys are good? Matheson?
Yeah, good.
You're good too. So the thing about a 7-man tent that I like, we'll zip this open and I'll let Gate to go in. Well, Gate can come in with me. 7-man tent gives you a ton of space, but would you call it really that 7 people could fit in here? Probably not. The key is it does have a good space for about a family of 4 to 5 with still some space to put some of your clothing and whatnot in. I have the air mattress here. Of course, what's really good about being close to the house is Matheson has his Wi-Fi connected here as well. Matheson, good Wi-Fi down here? So we got the air mattresses, we got it all set up. So a little bit about shelter as well. So there's your shelter that you have. A key, you know, everybody always asks, well, what the heck happens if it rains? What happens if it rains? Well, you come inside the tent, you can tell that there's a waterproof bottom that we have here, as well as there's that extra little piece when you're building your tent that will be the rain cover. It's really important to make sure you put the rain cover on if it is a forecasted rain. Well, let's go out here and talk a little bit about fire. So we can talk a little bit about the fire itself. This fire here that we have, number one, you need to make sure that if you're doing it in your backyard, what your municipality allows you in terms of fire. This is a nice fire bowl that was only about $100 of a cost. The key about a fire bowl as well is that often if you're cooking food, which the kids are doing right now, but there's also this that can go on the top to cook food. There's some bylaws that will say that you can have a fire in your backyard as long as that you're cooking food, and that's exactly what this is for. But really, really be careful with fire. Even though it's fun, it's a part of the camping experience, you want to be careful. Oh, Matheson, how is that s'mores? Oh, it's good. Look at the face. Now, Gaetan, who's shooting camera right now, told me a story a little bit about food. Guys, get this with food too. So there's a reason why we never put that inside the tent. Do you guys know why we never put food inside? Bears, good idea. Yeah, so we don't want to have any garbage sitting around the campsite. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that this is not inside the tent. We want to make sure that the food is covered up, and we want to make sure the food is best stored. Guess where it would be best stored?
In a tree?
In a tree. It could be up in a tree. That's one recommendation. Or what you do is you store it inside your car, right? The story that Gaetan told me is a story. Where was that in, Gaetan?
I'm not sure where it was. But,
okay. It was in Northern Ontario. Northern Ontario, his brother put the food inside the car. A bear broke into the car, actually went through the window, and then not only ate all the food, but then pooed all over the van. So really important. If that was inside your tent, imagine what would happen to your tent. So those are just a few little key tips. The key is just to have some fun. And at the end of it, as long as kids have s'mores, my kids have never been more quiet than what they were just there.
Kids, they need the s'mores, they need the forest, they need the nature. And then my takeaway from this is I don't want a bear coming into my tent at all, especially to take some food, but I really don't want them to poo in there. So thank you very much for that story, Gate, Frank, and that warning. Listen, I need to ask you this. With you and the boys setting up that tent, were there any disagreements, or did you guys get through it without killing each other?
We did well together, but there was a couple times where the tent actually did kind of its own thing, didn't it? But we use, you know what we do, all of us, we always learn how to laugh through those moments. When something goes wrong, if you just laugh at it instead of get excited about it, you can just kind of make it a great experience.
Thank you, Frankie. It's so sweet to see how much the boys have grown.